Hello, welcome, friends and foes, to the MMA Huddle live chat. Back again for another edition. Obviously, I think I've done live every day since Wednesday or Tuesday. Thank you all for coming to join me tonight, and we'll be getting started shortly. And this is one of those things where I'll keep doing them. I'm going to start off every time saying, I hope you're all safe. I hope your families are safe. And more importantly, I hope you're looking after each other. I hope you're there for each other. If anyone is needing to speak to me or speak to Will or speak to anyone at the chat here, our inboxes are open on all our social media platforms. If you feel like you're alone, you need some help, for whatever reason, just don't quite have the kind of support you need in general, we are here. We would love to help you all as best we can. So please do drop us a message if you feel the need to. Just stick to the regulations, keep your distance, wash your hands, and tune into the podcast when I come live all the time. So that is all we ask of you all. So yeah, let's just talk about the main topic of tonight. Really, was I'm looking to touch upon the effects of the coronavirus on MMA, which is a huge thing. It's a big factor. It's massive. It's hitting everyone right now. So it is something we all have to look at. It's something we all have to. What is the word I want to use? It's something we all want to, or need to, should I say? It's something we all need to accept. It's something that's happening, and I hope that we can all join in together in looking after each other in this kind of rough time. But MMA especially is getting hit by this. MMA is getting hit pretty hard. Yeah, anyone who's tuning in, feel free to give it a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already to join into the podcast. Being part of the MMA community with the podcast, for example, me and Will, we do our breakdowns and stuff like that. I would normally interview fighters. We don't have any of that right now. None of it's happening. It's all a bit of a quiet kind of time. I think it was MMA Junkie, I want to say. They put out a story about, oh gosh, I don't know what's going to bug me to one of the fighters about saying how they think the COVID virus was created by the government and it's all a myth. So they are scraping. You got to remember, it's not just the UFC that's affected, it's the whole community of MMA as a whole that's getting affected by this. Whether you're just training, whether you're competing in MMA, whether you're a coach, you own a gym, there's fees that are not getting paid. Obviously, the government's going to support people to an extent, but it's a far bigger platform for the MMA scene because you've got to remember the MMA sport itself is not a huge sport. We've not been going around for forever. We've only been around what we now, so 2020, 25, just over 25 odd years. So 20 odd, we'll just round off to 25, just over 25 years we've been going for. That is not a long time, folks. Not a long time at all. And knowing that, the kind of foundations aren't there for the support of the sport, whether you've got soccer, where they've got kind of huge kind of investments from all around the world in that sport. You've got boxing's got a bit more of an investment on that side of things. You've also got NFL, which has got huge investments and huge monies. But MMA itself has not been around long enough really to have the support. So it's a huge thing that's happening right now. This COVID virus. It's something we really all have to adhere to and look at and take seriously. Because if you're like my boy James Lynch, love my boy James Lynch to bits. You know, his content was, that will affect him because he left his full-time job to go into this full-time, and you think now he's got to put a lot of content out just to tick things over until the fight game's going again. Dana's talking all the time about this UFC 249 card happening. I just don't get it. He said he's got 4 or 5 places in his, Mars, the moon, North Pole, South Pole. I don't know where else is the 5th one, but yeah, it's tough. It's perplexing, really. Unless to go to Russia, I don't know what Russia's stance is at the moment and how things are there, but yeah, it's really strange to see the sport as it is because tons of gyms. You see the statuses of them shutting the doors. I watched a lot of the fighters. not as many of them getting the training in as they would like to, but they're just ticking over. But you got to remember their income has stopped for now, where they would be more secure knowing there's fights coming up. So whether it be a UFC, Cage Warriors, Titan FC, AFL, you've got KSW, you've got a ton of promotions, One FC, all that good stuff. You know, you look at the employees and everything. It's a huge effect that the coronavirus is having on the sport. Not obviously worldwide, it's having an effect. I'm not kind of looking away or taking away from that. It's affecting everyone and everything. I just feel that with the sport itself being so young, it could have a detriment to it long term. Um, it's more on the regional scene than say Bellator or UFC, which have the bigger investments. You know, you got to look at your Cage Warriors. You've got to look at your even more local regional scenes like your Shamrock FC, FCC in the UK. You've got a ton of promotions just down at lower echelon. So you've got your UFCs, your Bellators, your One FC, kind of bigger promotions up here. And then you have your kind of, I call them the feeder promotions like your LFA, your Cage Warriors, you know, those kind of Shuto and stuff like that. These are kind of like the second tier. Then you've got your beginners leagues, your regional ones, the bottom of the kind of lower leagues where you learn your trade and learn your craft. They're the ones you got to think about. Whereas if they had shows coming up, part of the shows that they would have, that would have been money to invest into it. So, and for me as well, I compete in a sport, and it's a huge blow. It sucks. My gym's closed. I can go down and train myself. Absolutely, I could go down myself to the gym and train. Obviously, I'd clean before, I'd clean after, but there's something about the camaraderie. There's something about the unity that you have where you you fight on your own, but you train with people, and there's a bonding in there, and you know, it's something you miss. Fighters will miss it mentally. They'll obviously be talking to people, and it's a shame because you look at now the kind of stories like John Jones. Literally, he's gold. He is gold for all these kind of media outlets, because whenever he did the driver under the influence, it was like woo! You just saw the big flash and lights, the big party going. They were like, "We've got some work. We've got some work." Because prior to that, they were just scraping. And it's not their fault, they're scraping for work. And you got to remember, reporters get paid for what they do. So, you know, the amount of work they put out, it's a rough ride. It is a rough ride. If any of you guys are noticing anything about the fight game, anything, what is it you've noticed about the fight game that's changed with this kind of being switched off? Like, for example, I mentioned last night in a podcast, Dana White's true colors. I thought it was disgusting, his behavior and his attitude towards the sport. But if you guys have seen Dana White's anything else in the sport change, maybe it could be fighters' perspectives or fighters' mindsets and attitudes towards it, or anything like that. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And they're just now currently playing on UFC Fight Pass, the kind of live stream. They have a live 24-hour, 24/7 live stream where they'll put tons of different things on. They'll put all sorts of promotions that they have signed up. So they'll put their cards on. They'll put little tidbits on, the little kind of TV clips that they do and all sorts. So they're doing the John Jones, Thiago Santos card right now. Bit awkward. But as well, it's nothing. There's nothing coming out from Dana White. It's a tough one because Dana's not commented. I think obviously they're waiting to hear what's going on with John Jones and how this will pan out. There's talks of it being affected, the court cases potentially because of what's happening with the coronavirus. So we don't know what's going to happen there. If there's a delay in a tribunal, etc. I don't know what the procedure is for the US. I'm afraid, so I don't want to try and comment too much on it. So I'm a bit up in the air at the moment, and I think everyone else is. It's huge, the effect that it's having on MMA. I miss it. I do. It's weird. Years and years ago, I don't know how many people have followed MMA, the sport itself. As much like I've been following it for, gosh, we're 2020 now, so I've been following it for too long now. Jeez, gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh, 17 maybe 17, 18 years, but So I came across it about that time ago, but it could even be more. But one thing about it that stood out to me was the kind of break in the fights. It wasn't every week like we have now. There was gaps, and the gaps built up the anticipation, the excitement, the build up. Because you would have kind of like boxing when you had like one or two fights. You'd have like 4 or 5 fights a year that you'd be getting hyped for. The UFC kind of had that kind of excitement to it. So there was that anticipation, and there is an anticipation now for the next card to happen. Everyone's kind of like just thinking, which one is it? And Dana's pushing for the Khabib Ferguson fight, maybe because it's fell through 4 times before, and he's just sick and tired of it falling through. Like, how many times can he put this on? How many times can he arrange it to happen? What else is going to happen? There's cables, coronavirus, injuries for both guys. Like, there is just an abundance of obstacles he finds himself in. He's probably just past the point of wanting to try and negotiate and just wants to make this fight happen. So I could see part of why he's getting a bit annoyed, but his comments about the coronavirus is what's kind of got under my skin. I think if any of his family any of his family members are affected by it directly and were to sadly pass away, I think we might see a change of tune, change of attitude, and a different type of Dana White from that. And I'm not saying I would like that to happen, but he certainly needs to change his attitude and change his tune. Michael Bisping's very vocal on social media, if you look at it, about the coronavirus and how people need to look at it and take it seriously. And he's an employee of the UFC. It's awkward because fighters as well, it's hard for them. They can't stand up to Dana. Let's say they can't shoot down what he's saying because of he's the employer, and they could, it will have an effect, and he will happily just cut them. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Everyone in that promotion is just a cash cow, and when he's done, you're out, and they just go to the next one. They just keep pumping it through like a factory line. To me, it was the Olympics. It was the ultimate, the UFC. And over the years, the shine's gone off it. The random people have had on it. And I think to myself, it's not what it was. It's just there's a higher percentage of the better athletes in MMA are in the UFC, but not all of them are in. Bellator's got a handful of the best fighters in the world. ONE FC's got some of the best fighters in the world. So you're seeing the spread, and it's great. I love that kind of competition, let's say, for quality. You're not just getting it with one show because it has filtered down. There's some guys in that UFC roster who they are absolutely shocking. They shouldn't even be on there, and how they even get signed is beyond me. Sometimes it is for marketing purposes, where they're based and where they're from. This isn't obviously just to sit and dig at the UFC. It's just it's an observation more than anything. So yeah, I'm interested to see how Cage Warriors or Shamrock FC or Titan FC, KSW, all those promotions. I'm interested to see how they come back from it and how it's affected them and the fighters. I probably will try to look to speak to a couple of fighters and see if they want to chat about what they feel's potential outcomes for the year and what kind of effect it can have on them. Because if you think about it, if this affects maybe a month or two, even 3 months, that's a chance for a fighter to have one fight in that 3-month period, and then that's one amount of money of income down for the year. So if they weren't injured, obviously, if they were injury free. So it's incredible things that are happening. Again, love to see and love to hear your comments on it. It's a tough one for the sport, having these quiet times. Like I said before, the UFC Fight Pass are putting the 239 card on, Thiago Santos and John Jones. If you have UFC Fight Pass, by all means, tune into it. But again, it's something I want to say to everyone. I hope everyone's keeping healthy. I hope everyone's looking after each other. I just do this kind of live stream just in case people need that kind of I want to say connection. That's the wrong word, isn't it? Just a break from the norm, a bit of something content. I'm just trying to put something out there for people, just to tick them over, so to speak. Like I said, I'm going to look to get some interviews done this week coming up with people. Just content out there for you all. So I want to try and get people outside of the fight game. I'm going to make some drop some emails tomorrow to plan stuff for the week because I'm working from home. So because I'm working from home, I've got a bit of free time to do stuff between stuff. So, I'll look to get that sorted out for you all. And that was it. I just want to come on for a quick chat. So, look, ladies and gentlemen, I love you all. Take care of each other. Stay safe. Let's keep your distance. Look after each other. Talk to each other. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow probably for another chin wag, and I hope to speak to you all then. So take care. Thank you.